Bitcoin versus gold and silver. This has been a long, drawn-out debate, and coming from precious metals and learning a lot about Bitcoin, I have a unique take on this where I like all three, but I wanted to talk about just exactly why and actually break down the real differences because they're sitting here on my table. This is a gold bar. We got a 25-ounce gold bar. We got a 100-ounce silver brick here, and we got a cold storage device for Bitcoin. I want to break down the differences between the three, how I see it, being in the industry of precious metals and being a big fan of Bitcoin. Hopefully, this is worth your time. I've spent a lot of time researching these subjects. Don't have anything to sell you, but I would ask if you find this information to be valuable, please do click the subscribe and the like. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm. So thank you all for doing that. So let's start off with gold. The one thing about gold that a lot of gold bugs are hesitant to talk about is that no custodian should be trusted. When it comes to the key difference between precious metals and Bitcoin, it comes down to custody for me. So what happened when we had a situation in 1933 where we had Roosevelt who made it so that we all had to turn in our gold? Now, a lot of people didn't do it. Ironically enough, this gold bar, if you want to see close-up pictures of this, just go to my Instagram, at Rob Sultan on Instagram. Got really cool pictures of this. This is a 1946 assay bar from the actual New York assay office. I've made videos on this one as well. But this is actually from a time when gold was outlawed. So this couldn't have been given to a citizen. It had to be paying a debt or something from our country to another, something along those lines. So very interesting historical piece of gold here. But that history lesson tells us that we shouldn't trust custodians with our gold because the people who got to keep their gold were the ones who didn't turn it in. Quite frankly, some people didn't turn it in and some people did. But in 1933, we were supposed to go and trust a custodian with our gold and give it up, right? Now all of our money was supposed to be back to gold. And then Nixon exited the Bretton Woods Agreement. And in 1971, we made it so none of our money's back to gold anymore. And basically, we trusted a custodian again. So when it comes to gold, does it make sense to digitize gold? Let me back it up a little bit here. More than 90% of the money is digitized. So if we watch this recent interview with Powell, right, with Jerome Powell, he talks about how they don't print money. They digitally inject trillions. It's not like they have a printing press that can make trillions and trillions and trillions of paper $100 notes, because that, forbid that they make a higher denomination than $100 like they used to back in the day. By the way, a lot of people don't know this, but they used to have $500 notes. I've had quite a few of them. We used to have $1,000 notes. Why don't we have those today? You ever wonder why? Probably because they don't want you to have custody of the money. The higher denomination the note, the more money can be out of the system. Bingo. Why do we have a $100 bill and not a $1,000 bill? I think we're onto something there. Just my opinion, not financial advice, just a YouTuber. Please hit the like button for the algorithm, because Lord knows it won't. Anyway, the key difference is digitizing. So if you want to have gold, it only makes sense in my mind to have the real thing. That's why I like the physical gold. I like the physical silver, because I know it's not being trusted by a custodian. Ironically enough, SLV, the custodian for SLV ETF, is actually none other than JP Morgan. You know the stories about all of that and the manipulation of precious metals market. Again, just my opinion. Actually, that's not my opinion. That actually has evidence. But anyway, the truth is you don't want to trust a custodian. So where does this come into picture? If you have, there's been blockchain-based gold companies that have come to me and want me to advertise on my channel, and I've refused and said, no, I won't do it. And the reason for that is because if you trust a custodian and you get a digitized blockchain, a piece of some token against the gold, that's literally the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That is the definition. So if you trust a custodian, knowing the history of gold, knowing that every time we've trusted a custodian, the custodian has stolen, has lost the gold. It just happens every single time. So that's where the eureka picture came to me with Bitcoin, was custody. Now, Bitcoin is a digital custody, and it takes a long time for somebody from precious metals to understand how necessary that is. But the way that I simplify it is that we can't have a digital gold. It can't be done. So if I wanted to, this is roughly 50,000 worth in gold, right? Roughly around that range, 50,000. It's 25 ounces. Gold's around 1,900 an ounce. So roughly, 48 to 50,000 in melt value, just the melt value. Not talking about the value of the bar, just melt value. So if you were to move $1 billion worth of gold, right? I can't do the math in my head right now, but if you broke it down, it'd be huge amounts, bus loads of gold, full airplanes of gold to get billions in gold around, right? But you can instantaneously transfer billions in Bitcoin because it's already digitized. That's where the custody comes into play. I'm not going to get into the deeper layers when it comes to mining, when it comes to how secure the network has become with the node protocol. I might touch on it a little bit in this video, but I want to go over the main points here just to simplify it and break it down. So the first large thing is custody. We cannot have a digitized gold without losing the custody. With Bitcoin, you can have the custody and keep it in the digital world. Again, more than 90% of our money in today's day and age is digital. Again, this was just recently talked about by Powell, how it's all digital, and they just digitally injected the money. Which is just wild that they can tamper with the monetary supply like that. You also, with Bitcoin, have a finite amount, and you know the exact finite amount. So with precious metals, I can't tell you the exact amount of gold out there. I can't tell you it. I don't know the exact amount. But with Bitcoin, you know it to the decimal point, which is very unique when it comes to being a perfect ledger. So I see it as the best digital medium to have an asset. I do not see any medium for precious metals to be digitized, which is why I am such an advocate for physical precious metals. When it comes to silver, the unique perspective of silver and why I like silver more than pretty much all the metals, it's my favorite metal. So silver, platinum, palladium are my top three favorites. I also like gold, obviously, but silver, platinum, palladium, if you watch my channel, are my favorites because it is being eaten up by industrial demand on top of having the monetary value of silver. Now, some people argue that silver is demonetized. A lot of the silver stackers out there beg to disagree with that. But I love the fact that it has the industrial value on top of the precious metal value as money. So that to me is huge, having both of those things when it comes to silver. But again, back to the main point, it comes down to custody. And so if you have your money in some ETF, if it's your only option, your 401k or you have your IRA or something like that, and you can't have the physical, then I guess some people want to be in SLV, some people want to buy mining stocks. I'm not going to talk about that, but that's not true custody. To me, that is giving up the power and letting somebody else have custody of the power. With Bitcoin, you can have all of your money on a device like this, and only you have the password. Nobody else. It's not in a bank. It's not about any of that. And the reason why I'm such a fan of all three is because I know precious metals cannot be digitized without losing custody, whereas Bitcoin can be digitized and you can keep the custody at the same time. So am I going to trust my capital in digital dollars, or do I want my capital in digital Bitcoin? To me, I see it as something brilliant, because if all of the money in the world is digital already, mostly, for the most part, more than 90% of the dollars worldwide are digital, well then, just to step back, I guess, and hopefully I'm not rambling too much in this video, hopefully it's worthwhile, but isn't it crazy that there's a total market out there for currencies that are back to nothing, but they trade against each other? This one's worth more than the other one, and that one has more buying power than this one. And you have all of these different currencies, the yen, the yuan, the dollar, the CAD, the euro, all these different currencies out there, all back to nothing, and they trade against each other. If you really looked at how complex and ridiculous of a system that is, wouldn't it make sense that a layer existed that was agreed upon, that's a digital layer that can't be tampered by an individual entity, and it's just the same worldwide? Doesn't that make sense? To me, that's kind of the model of Bitcoin. When I first saw Bitcoin, I thought to myself, it's foolish to be all in and equally foolish to have none. That was the overall sentiment. I mean, you can go back in my videos a year ago and you'll see that I had the same sentiment back in 2020. I was talking about when I first started getting my Bitcoin position when it was under 10,000. Now I'm looking at it and I still think it's foolish to be all in and foolish to have none. Again, not financial advice, just my personal opinion. Looking at this entire perspective of all of precious metals and Bitcoin together, what bothers me the most is that you see this headbutting match between libertarian-minded individuals that want to have, self-sovereignty. They want to have money. The key for me is not which one is better. The key to me is, how do I have assets outside of the traditional banking system? How do I have purchasing power outside of these traditional banks? That's what matters to me. And this entire marketplace, if you put all of platinum, all of palladium, all of gold, all of silver, all of Bitcoin in the same basket, you're talking around roughly 15 trillion or less. Excuse me. Why is there a headbutting match in a debate between that small $10, $15 trillion basket? Well, more than 10, because obviously gold is around 10, but I believe it's less than 15 trillion. Somebody in the comments, write your comment and let me know if I'm right on that. I believe it's roughly 15 trillion. When you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trillions of dollars out there, the entire bonds market, the equities market, all of real estate, all the financial assets worldwide, you're talking about, around $1 quadrillion out there. And there's a $15 trillion space that's tiny and not looked at right now as what I consider risk-off assets, and others consider risk-off assets. I think Bitcoin will enter that space of risk-off assets as well eventually in the future. But on top of that, the difference today, and I've talked about this in my dollar hot potato theory, we have inflation like we never had before. In 2008, inflation wasn't even, I believe it was less than 1% in 2008 on the yearly for inflation. And now we have inflation that's growing out of control. So now we have a high inflation and we haven't hit a recession yet, but it seems like it's imminent. Even Elon Musk is talking about how he thinks there's a recession imminent. I made a video on that as well. So I think there's a situation where there's pressure forming from inflation that is going to flood all of those hundreds of trillions of dollars of capital into risk-off assets. And I think it'll happen in a different way than it happened in 2008, because in 2008, we all know precious metals went down with the market, and Bitcoin has been trading with the market as well. If the market crashes, Bitcoin tends to go down with it. I think there's going to be a detachment based on the fact that there isn't many options on where to place all of these hundreds of trillions of dollars out there to protect it from inflation that is continuously going up and up and up and proving to not be transitory. So my overall sentiment is not just to compare all of these, but to realize, wait a minute, it makes sense, at least to me, again, not financial advice, to have all three. And that trade has done very well for me. When Bitcoin's pulled back, I've had silver. When Bitcoin is up and precious metals are down, I've had Bitcoin. So it's like, I believe in those three places because I don't think there is an argument that can be made to digitize gold, period. Like if I was going to debate, say, Peter Schiff, this is something that I would talk about. I'd say, look, I like gold. I think gold will be around for a long time. I think it'll always be a horse in the race, and it'll be the most pure risk-off asset. However, we have to agree that we cannot trust a custodian. That is the definition of insanity. So we cannot digitize gold. And I know I'm kind of beating this point over and over again, but not enough people talk about how we need a layer that is digital and agreed upon and decentralized as a medium in that world, because to move $1 billion in gold, you want to do it the right way, which is taking true custody of it, it's not very easy. But you can see $1 billion transactions all the time in Bitcoin, and the settlement is very easy, and it's pure. So it's very interesting to me that take of Bitcoin, knowing that you can have custody but keep it in the digital realm, and only you have the passwords to this device. None of these devices have been able to be tampered. There's been situations where if it was not properly done, things have happened. But it's the more research I do on Bitcoin, it is, if you know how to do cold storage appropriately and know how to put a passphrase on it, maybe I'll make a video on this in the future. A lot of people have been asking me about that, but I am astonished when you have your own cold storage device on how capable it is. And I want to talk about this in a future video, so please do subscribe on the channel. I think that one might drop right after this one, just talking about what is Bitcoin on a more deep level than just comparing it to precious metals. But the way I look at it is like it's an improvement on the wire system. Just to break it down quickly in this video, the wire system, the Fed wire system, is a one node system, completely outdated, takes forever to get anything done, roughly 24 hours to 48 hours to get a wire transfer. And you need the routing, the account number, the business address, all of these different things for a wire. If it's over a certain amount, you got to go to the bank and hand do all of this stuff in person. So outdated, so ridiculous. And it's a one node system that has proven that it could go down in the past couple of years here. It actually has gone down before for a full day. Bitcoin, on the other hand, it's never gone down. It just keeps going, and it's decentralized. And you get a soft confirmation. The second you send something on the Bitcoin, on the blockchain, you immediately get a soft confirmation in the wallet that it's being sent to. So you know that it's pending to you. So it's like that wire transfer. Imagine if you sent a wire transfer at your bank, and then immediately, the second that other person sent it, you get a soft confirmation 24/7, 365. You could do it Saturday at midnight on a Saturday, and you're going to get a soft confirmation right away. So some people say Bitcoin is slow, but the truth is you get that confirmation knowing that it's on the way and pending to you. So when it comes to the wire transfer system, and by the way, there are thousands of nodes out there to maintain that system, and they're growing more and more nodes versus Fed wire system, which is only one node. Pretty wild. So it is much more secure than the Fed wire system. But that's just to break down why I think Bitcoin is just very interesting to me. And I've always, looked at Bitcoin like it was an insurance play. It's foolish to be all in, foolish to have none. And so more and more people from precious metals are starting to realize that this isn't a headbutting match. It isn't this is better than the other one. It's knowing the truth. And to me, the truth is I can't digitize these assets. Just like the other thing too is gold. I can't look at it as an industrial metal because it's not used in industry as much as, say, silver is. It can be used in industry, but it's a very small percentage of gold is used in industry. So that's why I like silver a bit more than gold. And I've been very honest about that because I see silver as both a monetary metal and an industrial metal. Same thing with platinum. And same thing with palladium. And platinum had a great day today, by the way. I think platinum was up like almost 5% today. Pretty wild. So gold and silver up quite a bit today. Actually, let's take a look at that before I end this video here. I like to keep these around 15 minutes, but this one might be a 20-minuter. I tend to rant in these ones a little bit. Let's take a look over here. So here's the Bitcoin chart. Let's pull up. I'm on the 1 day here with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's around 44K. Let's see how accurate that clock is. 43,850. Close enough. But 44K roughly on Bitcoin. Well, not roughly. That is where it is. 44,048. And gold, this is, hang on really quick. I'm looking at the daily. That's a pretty great daily chart on gold. Gold went up quite a bit. Over here it's showing because the market closed and reopened. But in the daily, it was down from 1850s up to 1868. Pretty nice day for gold. And pretty nice day for silver as well. Silver on a spike up as well. And Bitcoin was actually kind of flat in the same period of time. So that's kind of interesting to see more money kind of going into gold and silver right now. I'm watching the trade between the DXY, silver, Bitcoin, and gold, and watching to see if silver, Bitcoin, and gold detach from the market. Because Bitcoin is so new, it seems to trend with the NASDAQ, which it almost is seen like a tech stock. But it's interesting seeing gold and silver starting to detach from the overall market because the overall market is a bit down today, but gold and silver were up today, which is very interesting. Something to consider there because again, I think that we're going to have a situation where it's not going to matter which one is better. It's going to be seen as all of them are risk-off assets. And as that gets more and more recognized by everybody, they're going to realize, well, wait a minute, where do I put all of these profits that I had in equities? I'm getting pretty nervous about the stock market right now. These companies are trading like collectibles. I've always said like Tesla stock is like a collectible. Yeah, they got great products. I believe in their future. Do I believe they're worth almost $1 trillion? No, they're not. These price earnings ratios are like non-existent. So as we see this situation where the dollar has been rapidly inflated and the dollar index is still sitting lofty up there, and I think that the basket of fiat currencies could easily fall in unison, and that's what values the stock market of basically collectibles. So if all of that money is, and they're deep in the profits still in Tesla. So if you got in like March of 2020, you're deep in the profits on like all of your stocks. So that money that is in the profit is the smart money at least, I think is going to be selling and wanting to preserve that capital. So when they do sell, first they just want to declare a profit, right? They want to make sure that they save their money that they made with the printing press that Powell created. They want to save that printed money that they made. Now, after they take that capital, it shows the dollar index holding value and going up artificially, in my personal opinion. I think that this is my hot potato theory. The dollar index will go up because of all that money going out of the equities, but then that money needs to find a place to go to preserve it from inflation. That's the one wild card this time around that wasn't seen in 2008. Inflation wasn't like this in 2008. Not enough people are talking about that. Inflation right now is way over 7%. They say it's 7%. I think it's more around 15 to 20%. That's just my personal opinion. Again, personal opinion. But if that is the case, which it seems to be, obviously, then people are not just going to be sitting in their dollars. That's going to be a temporary hot potato. And then they're going to look to throw that hot potato into risk-off assets. And that's why I like all three of them, or in my opinion, all five of them, because I like platinum and palladium in addition. But also rhodium has been crushing it. I remember there was a big rhodium deal I passed on that was like 5 ounces of rhodium. I really blew it on that one back in the day, but rhodium has been crushing it as well. But personally, I'll just tell you the order that I'm in right now is silver, platinum, and you don't have to buy anything. No Patreon here. I don't have anything to sell you, but I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. That would be rad. But I'm in silver first in my portfolio. So in this order, silver, platinum. Well, actually, I think Bitcoin is, since it's gone up so much since I bought it, it's up there with my silver and platinum position. So silver, platinum, Bitcoin, palladium, gold is where my money is right now for the most part. And continuously building my company. I've been working on some stuff behind the scenes. If you follow me on my Instagram, there's going to be some announcements being dropped there. Again, if you want to see some close-ups of like my historical bars, stuff like that, go to my Instagram at Rob Sultan on Instagram. If you follow me there, would really appreciate it. Hopefully this video wasn't too much of a rant and there were some good points made that you might not have looked at from that perspective. Again, to me, it comes down to custody. And to point out and to summarize, we cannot digitize silver and gold without giving up custody, whereas I can digitize Bitcoin and keep custody at the same time, which is brilliant. When it comes to settlement, it is a lot easier to settle in Bitcoin than it is to settle in physical precious metals, knowing that we want the real thing. So if you want the real thing, it's got to be transported. So there's a lot to do with the settlement that Bitcoin solves there. We also know that Bitcoin is ultimately finite, whereas we don't know the exact amount of gold and silver out there. That's why I like industrial precious metals the most. But then to flip it, Bitcoin, no matter how much Bitcoin continues to succeed and how much I like Bitcoin, it can never be a tangible. You can never put Bitcoin in an electric car or a solar panel. It's just not going to happen. It's not a tangible. So for me, I look at silver, in my personal opinion, just have to make sure that that's really put out there. So disclaimer, it's inevitable because it's needed as an industrial metal. Same thing with palladium and platinum. It's a needed metal, and it always will be needed, in my personal opinion. And I'm actually have a couple of videos coming out on palladium and platinum on their different use cases that are coming out in regards to fuel cells and batteries and stuff like that. There's some very interesting stuff happening with those metals, which is probably why they're spiking a bit. But same thing with silver. I think that those are extremely undervalued. And to point out the obvious, Bitcoin can never be tangible. This is as tangible as Bitcoin can get, is holding your own cold storage, but the asset itself is a digital layer of trust on the blockchain, which I will get into on a different video. But I mainly just wanted to rant a little bit here on the true differences between precious metals and Bitcoin, and not just be that, I swear this debate has been so beaten up where it's just the same points being brought up by gold, same points being brought up by Bitcoin. And it's like this headbutting match between two parties that don't need to be in a headbutting match. There's hundreds and hundreds of trillions of dollars out there that is going to flood into these safe haven assets. And that's how I look at it. Some people laugh that I consider Bitcoin a safe haven asset. I don't see a better place digital to put capital to consider a safe haven. Where is a better digital place to store capital, to preserve wealth in the digital realm? There isn't one. SLV or PSLV or a gold ETF or a mining stock is not storing your capital in the digital realm. That's a gamble. Really, like you're trusting some other custodian and you're trusting that this mining stock is going to find precious metals. But with Bitcoin, you actually have custody in the digital realm. So that's where I kind of see the difference there. And again, no matter how much Bitcoin tries, it cannot never be a tangible. And ironically enough, Bitcoin kind of needs silver and gold because, or silver, mostly silver, because what's in these computers? There's gold and silver in those computers. So ironically enough, Bitcoin needs it. So I say that it's great to have all of them. And I just am very opposed to this idea that it has to be a choice, because given the option that you could have all of them and be able to have a bit of it all, then why is it up for debate which one is better? To me, it's foolish to be all in, foolish to have none of all of it, of all precious metals and Bitcoin. So hopefully this video made some sense. Again, hopefully it wasn't too much of a rant. I tend to repeat myself a lot, but that's the way that I learn. I have to read the same page of a book 10 times to actually get the information. So welcome to the way my crazy brain works. But thank you so much for being part of the channel. Thank you so much for the support. Everybody that hits the like, everybody that hits subscribe, makes me want to keep making these videos. Really appreciate you all, and I will see you at the next video.